Hello and welcome to the 1000 subscriber special for Rio. I am Rio, and I just want to express how grateful I am to all of you who have subscribed, who have liked, who have watched the videos, and are watching this one. It's been quite the ride. It's been 3 years since I started the channel, almost, and the growth, while definitely not exponential, not going to blow anyone away with the growth, has been consistent, and I've had opportunities that have come from this channel to interact with so many wonderful people, to play a lot of games that I wouldn't have played otherwise, and I just wanted to thank you for all that. So we have for us today my top games from 2010 to 2020, and that is what was voted for in the poll there by a pretty considerable margin. That was the final result, and we're gonna be going through this. Now, this is completely unscripted, which is why editing Rio is currently whacking his head against the wall, but we're going to make do in any case, and we'll just see what comes of it, and editing Rio can just work around things here. First, I want to set some ground rules here. The first is that obviously these are my opinion, and I am limited by the games that I've actually played. There are plenty of amazing games that couldn't even sniff this list because I simply haven't played them. The second one is that the year that each game qualifies for is its first release in English on any console, and that's mainly a rule I'm putting in place because I have a lot of JRPGs who are going to be on this list in various spots. So that is an important part. If it happens to be a game that I've only done fan-translated ones for, it is going to be based off of its initial release date in presumably Japanese. And then there's the slight situation we have with some games where, is it truly a new game? We're talking like the Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 Royal, those type of games. And it's going to be done on a case-by-case basis. If you have any questions as to why one game is in a certain year and another is in a different one, let me know in the comments and I will try to clear it up. But I'm definitely not clearing it up on every single case during the video. I hope you enjoy this and can get a little more informed. Now, there's going to be one game of the year. That's the one I'll be talking about most in this, and then there are going to be 2 honorable mentions for each year, which I will not go into detail in for the video. And we will start off in 2010. Now, a lot of these early years, the winners and honorable mentions are going to be ones that I came back to later, because before 2014, I wasn't all that into gaming to the extent that I am now. But 2010 is one of the exceptions. 2010's Game of the Year is one that I picked up at the time and have been heavily invested in this series for a long time. And 2010's Game of the Year for me is Sid Meier's Civilization V. Now, Sid Meier's Civilization V is a 4X strategy historical simulation game, and that has always really resonated with me. I have a lot of personal history with Civilization as a series. Civilization 4 was probably the first game I ever picked out for myself, one that I didn't see friends playing. My parents didn't pick it out because they thought I would like it. It was one that I specifically said, hey, I think I would like this game. And I was right. So go however old I was at that point, Rio. I attribute a lot of my interest in history. I have a degree in history, and that may be in part because of the Civilization series. And now for Civilization 5 specifically, it had so many great innovations to the series. I loved the addition of hexagons to the map, no more unit stacking, making combat, not just military combat, making combat more strategic and all that. And I really like the environments. It's not as colorful as 4 or 6, but I think it really feels more like I'm developing up a true civilization in real life. And I loved all of the historical figures obviously in it, learning about the wonders, learning about the different civilizations, the leaders, all of that has really enraptured me with the series from the start. And as it sits now, Civilization V is my second most played game on Steam, but I think if it was actually properly counting the hours, it probably would be number one. I have invested a lot of hours into this series, and I have gotten a lot out of it personally. So that is why Civilization V is quite possibly my favorite Civilization game, and also my game of the year for 2010. And now the honorable mentions for 2010 are Zero no Kiseki and Ys, the Oath in Felghana. For 2011, there's a bit of a hard choice in this one, but I think ultimately it had to go to Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Trails in the Sky First Chapter really set the tone for the series. It took me a little while to get into it. It is a slow burn, but as the characters deepened and the lore and the story and the world just expanded, there's so much detail to the Trails series, to Liberl, to Zemuria. Just everything about it has so much detail and build-up that you don't see in other games. And personally, I know the art style is certainly outdated at this point, but I have a lot of love for the charm of that period of Falcom art, and I just adore it, and I adore the characters. The characters are what brought me into the series and have kept me going, and that's been really good. It's set up so much of the world well that I really wanted to keep going with the next game. We had quite the cliffhanger, so I was probably going to want to go on to the next game in any case. The Trails in the Sky First Chapter really sets up the series to succeed, and I'll get to how they did afterwards later on in the video. The honorable mentions for 2011 are Ao no Kiseki and Valkyria Chronicles 3. Now for 2012, this was a hard one. A lot of the even number years are going to be tough choices for me when it comes to the game of the year, but ultimately, Persona 4 Golden takes the crown, and I am so glad it came to PC now, escaping the PS Vita. Persona 4 Golden has such an amazing environment. The way Inaba looks and the way the game sounds, it feels so comfortable slipping into this world. Now, obviously, there's a lot of serious stuff that's going on in Persona 4 Golden, and it is not all fun and games, but there's so much charm and vibrant life in Inaba, to the point that no other Persona game has equaled, and that really drew me in. It had amazing refinement of a lot of the ideas that Persona 3 brought in and made it so much better. The combat has vastly improved now that you can control your own party, although that was included in Persona 3 Portable, but that had its own issues. And the way the social link system works, Persona 4 Golden took the stuff that was in Persona 3 and really solidified it as a defining aspect for the series moving forward. And I love the cast, the main cast especially for Persona 4 Golden. They're lively, they're compatible, they feel like a real friend group. And obviously, Persona has amazing music across the board. So that is why Persona 4 Golden takes the 2012 Game of the Year crown. And the honorable mentions are XCOM Enemy Unknown and Ys Origin. Now for 2013, we come to a game that has a really special place in my heart. It's the game that I credit with getting me into gaming to this point. Without my engagement with this game, this channel might not exist. It is the game that sparked what I call my gaming renaissance. And that is Fire Emblem Awakening. From the moment I tried the demo, I just felt this giddiness while playing and really loved diving into the tactics and into the world. The cast of characters is just great. I really enjoy almost all the characters in Awakening's cast, and I think that is what ultimately drew me in. This is definitely a theme in my favorite games, and the ideas and lore that they packed into the game, you can really tell how much the developers loved the series, and that's what Awakening was supposed to be, a love letter to the series because of the possibility that it was going to end with Awakening. And I'm so glad it didn't, because I have been very grateful to have gotten games afterwards. But Fire Emblem Awakening is somewhat broken when it comes to gameplay, I understand that, but has so much fun packed into it in the story, in the gameplay, and yeah, I do have a great amount of nostalgia for it, but just the feeling I got from playing that. From the beginning, every moment resonated with me. I don't think I've been as emotional with a game since then as I have for the one chapter, and people who've played Awakening know what chapter I mean. That was just a master course of gameplay, story, and presentation intersection to create an amazing mood. So that is why 2013's Game of the Year for me is Fire Emblem Awakening, with the honorable mentions going to Europa Universalis 4 and The Last of Us. 2014, this one wasn't a particularly hard choice. Doesn't seem like it was the best year for gaming, at least when it comes to me. Probably there's going to be disagreements on that in the comments, but Mario Kart 8 takes the crown for that, and it's not really surprising. It is the pinnacle of party games. I have loved the Mario Kart series since I started playing it with my siblings in Mario Kart Wii, and I've just kept going with 7 and now with 8, and 8 just hits every high that Mario Kart Wii had and keeps it going. The single player is really good, and the multiplayer obviously has everything you could ask for in that, from the ups and downs, and I might be biased on this because I am very much the best Mario Kart player of my family, so that's always fun. But there's just not much to say. There's a reason I haven't talked about it on the channel so far. It's just such a good game that it speaks for itself. And that's why Mario Kart 8 is the 2014 Game of the Year for me, with honorable mentions going to Super Mega Baseball and Tomodachi Life. Now, 2015's, this is not going to be a surprise to anyone who has followed the channel or who even followed what I was saying earlier in this very same video, but 2015's Game of the Year for me is Trails in the Sky Second Chapter. It takes all the stuff that first chapter did and just keeps it going, keeps the momentum going. The character development is incredible across the board. It's a slam dunk of a follow-up. It does everything right. It gives us a satisfying finale while also setting the seeds for the future of Trails. Trails in the Sky First Chapter established the world and characters, and Trails in the Sky Second Chapter made us care and really hooked into this story and this world and these characters. It is, at the moment, my favorite Trails game out of all of them. And that's not an easy category to top. So I don't think it's much of a surprise that it also tops my 2015 games. The honorable mentions for 2015 are The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, and Trails of Cold Steel. Now, 2016, we're starting to get into when I was more up to date when it came to what games were coming out, what games were good, all of that stuff. And this is a tough year to decide. 2016 had releases not only for Civilization with Civilization 6, not only for Fire Emblem with Fire Emblem Fates, but also Trails for Trails of Cold Steel 2. And guess what? None of them are my Game of the Year or even in the honorable mentions. That's how good the 2016 year was for games. But my Game of the Year for 2016 is XCOM 2. XCOM 2, I loved the storytelling for it. I know it's not blow you away, but the storytelling in XCOM has always been a strength for me because it comes from your own play. That's where the real story is. It's from the moments where I have to sacrifice my sniper who pulls off an amazing sequence of killing off enemies to allow the rest of them to escape while staying behind and sacrificing himself. It's the 50% chance shot I had of killing the final boss on the very final turn I had and pulling it off. It's those moments that you can't script, the ones that come just from playing, and that's something XCOM does so well. And part of the reason that has so much impact is because of things like the character pool, where you can put your friends and family into the game, or characters from another series into the game, and it keeps you invested, and it helps that XCOM is a really challenging game. It engages so much with you on the strategic level, feels so great to pull off the perfect ambush. And finally, I really liked the direction XCOM 2 took the story. It's unique for the XCOM series, stretching back to the original games. The idea of being the insurgents while the aliens are taking over. It's unique, and I think it's one of the things that makes XCOM 2 such a standout game. And the honorable mentions for 2016 are Pokemon Sun and Moon and Stardew Valley. 2017, I think, was a pretty top-heavy year. Got 3 very solid entries here for the Game of the Year and the 2 honorable mentions, but unsurprisingly, 2017's Game of the Year for me is Tales of Berseria. It has such a strong ensemble cast, and the writing is just peak Tales writing. It hits so many important points, and I don't feel like any of the cast were left behind in that. I know so many games where there's incredible characters, but it's hard to do that across the board, and Tales of Berseria did that. It accomplished that, and it did it in an environment and a story that I have not seen an equivalent of. There's not a lot of JRPGs out there that allow you to basically be the antagonists to the rest of the world during that time, and I was here for it the whole time. I've talked extensively about how much I like Velvet, how much I like Tales of Berseria. It's just an amazing story and writing that really worked with me. And I'd say the gameplay was also pretty fun. The combat especially was nice and smooth. I'd prefer it to any other Tales game that I've played when it comes to combat. There are some little janky things, stuff that is a little tedious when it comes to gameplay, but the gameplay is solid enough that it doesn't bring down how good the story is, and so that is why Tales of Berseria takes the crown over the honorable mentions of Trails in the Sky the Third and Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. 2018. Now, I said that even years are really tough. Even years are so tough for making this list. I was scrambling to figure out which one was going to take this, but this is a very solid game. But it is also definitely a legacy pick. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is my game of the year for 2018 because I love so much of what that series does when it comes to gameplay. The way the combat happens. There is no game like it. There's no game that takes that strategic tactical style and does it this way, having the character potentials that affect them in combat based on their personalities. I love that. I love so much of what Valkyria Chronicles does for gameplay. Sure, it can still be broken by scouts. At some point, they'll figure out how to stop that, I'm sure, but I just enjoy Valkyria Chronicles gameplay so much. It hits really well with me. It feels amazing to play with. It feels more dynamic than most JRPGs out there. And I also really liked the characters and story for Valkyria Chronicles 4. Yes, there were misses in the story and with the characters, but I think overall both of them performed really well. It was just a return to form for Valkyria Chronicles as a series. Sure, Valkyria Chronicles 3 is an amazing game with a top-notch story, but it suffered from being on the PSP, and they showed when they got the resources that they could still make a really good game when it came to Valkyria Chronicles, and I really hope this is not the final entry in that series. The honorable mentions for 2018 are Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology and Octopath Traveler. 2019's, again, this is not going to be much of a surprise, but Fire Emblem Three Houses easily takes the crown on this one. It's such a bold step forward for the series. It's packed with so much content, from the Academy arc to the War arc, and all 4 of the paths I'm blown away that they went this direction with the series, and I'm so grateful they did. The cast in particular is amazing. I have talked about the cast for more than half an hour in a video before, and that was just 10 of them. 10 of them. There were plenty of amazing characters I didn't even talk about in that video, as you may have heard from the comments of that video. And I adore the cast and the way they deepened the world and used the world to explore the characters even more. I love the intersection between the world building and the character writing in there. And then you come to the gameplay, and it's the most control you've ever had over your army, over what units you use, classes they take, everything. There's so much customization you have now that has never been included in Fire Emblem to this extent. It was an ambitious project, and I think it really pulled off all of the things it needed to do to be a special game. And that's why Three Houses easily takes the 2019 crown for Game of the Year from me. And the honorable mentions for that year are Trails of Cold Steel 3 and I, the Somnium Files. Now we come to 2020, and 2020 had a big frontrunner for this honor from pretty early on. It was gonna take quite a game to beat it out, but there was one. My 2020 Game of the Year is Hades, because of the dynamic storytelling that's based via the dynamic battles, the way the story responds to how you perform in each run. It's a continuation of the ideas that Supergiant has been doing all along, and I was blown away by it. I was so impressed by the way the story layered with the gameplay played out, and that it really worked. And I talked earlier about XCOM 2 with the storytelling coming from the gameplay, and Hades just embraced that. Now, obviously, they can't take that entirely from XCOM 2. They can't replicate it to the extent that XCOM 2 does, but they paired it with a deep story that makes it even more special. And the gameplay is so smooth, the combat is fun, the art style is gorgeous. It's just such a world that I would want to visit. This is something that, you know, if someone ever wanted to do fan art of me looking like a Hades character, I would jump on that. I'd pay you to do that. It is such an amazing art style, and the music, everything fits together so well. It's a complete package of a game. And that's how it beat out the first of the honorable mentions, Persona 5 Royal, for the honor of Game of the Year. And the second honorable mention is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So quite the year when it came to art style, at the very least. And there you have it. My Game of the Year plus honorable mentions for every year from 2010 to 2020. I hope you enjoyed the video, got a little more insight into my thoughts and how I feel about all these games. There are so many games that are really good that couldn't make the honorable mentions, let alone the Game of the Year stuff, because there's a lot of good games out there, folks. Lots of them. And I hope to talk to you about them more as we move forward. Now, I know there were a decent number of people, not anything close to a plurality or majority, who were interested in me doing a Q&A. I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon, but I will float that as the idea for the 10,000 subscriber milestone video, which is my plan for the next one. And we'll see how long it takes for the channel to get there. I'd really appreciate any help you can give towards reaching that goal. You'll have plenty of time to think of questions in the meantime. I mean, if we keep at the rate that it's been currently going, we should hit 10,000 subscribers in 27 years? Yeah, 27 years. You'll have plenty of time to think of questions before then. In any case though, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I am so grateful to all of you for all the support over the length of this channel, and I hope you stick around in the future as we talk about more amazing games. And who knows, maybe I'll do a more in-depth 2021 Game of the Year list once this year is over. We'll see what people want. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, comment below your thoughts on these games, and let me know which games top your list from 2010 to 2020. Subscribe to keep following the channel, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Have a great day, and happy gaming.